Have you already gone through 70 of those NPCs and need more?
Don't worry, Grim Press has you covered. This is Adaptable NPCs II. Welcome to the Homebrew Crew. I'm Tony, this is Sean, and today we are reviewing one of our favorite things on the DMs Guild, and that is Adaptable NPCs II by Grim Press.
Yes, and if you're not familiar with this already, Adaptable NPCs is essentially a collection of a bunch of great NPCs that you can toss into your campaign with a couple of even extra adventures at the end. Mm-hmm. Now this one adds 110 new ones.
Yeah, and each one is really, really special. I mean, if you take a look at the back of the DM's guide with it, or I think it's the monster manual, you can actually flip through and see NPC characters that you can have with your party. This is the correct way to do that that DM character that follows the party.
Yes.
Don't make a character. This is the way to go.
And it's interesting you bring that up because the great thing that we always see in both adaptable NPCs is that they add a little bit of story and they add their unique features that kind of brings out the character of the NPC.
Right, and each one has their own like little quirks and little things with it. I think it's really cool. We don't want to go too much into it. There's 110 of these in here, and of course there's adventures that are added.
Yeah,
there's
with
small
full
adventures.
maps.
But what we're going to do is we're going to take up three of them. Three of them we just decided were our favorites right off the bat, and let's get into them, shall we?
Yes.
Our first one is the Bungling Burglar.
Yeah, and this is great because it's an example of an NPC who's not necessarily just good at what he does.
In fact, he's not good at what he does.
He isn't, yeah.
I mean, he obviously gets his sneak attack like any other
rogue, like a rogue, you know. He's a little chunky, but he's got a very low armor class, so he's gonna get kind of hit a lot.
He's only got a low CR rating too, which is cool. But the thing that makes him special is the fact that he is so damn unlucky.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So essentially, this guy has disadvantage on all ability and saving throws, and if he fails, he actually is going to lose all of his movement for that turn.
That's crazy. He just fails. He falls flat on his face. He screws up things. He's not good.
Yeah.
However, he is a great NPC. He's a good lackey to have around. You know, that guy who always seems to break into, you're a group of rogues and you pick up this other guy who's going to be, your burglar buddy.
Yeah.
And he always seems to smash that glass. He always seems to like step on the cat's tail when you get in there, And that's, I think it's a really good one.
Yeah, it's great because we don't get enough NPCs that have flaws like this. If you can see, he actually has a negative 2 to his intelligence. So it's really interesting to see something that's kind of actually a little dumb, So it's interesting to see that. So.
Not to mention, he's quite the looker.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you didn't see the photo, I mean, gosh.
Now, here's one that is a little bit, nicer, fancier, so to speak. Yeah, this one is the Lady of the Court.
And she's got a bit of an interesting picture there with that duck or goose or whatever it is.
It's an oddly placed swan.
Yeah.
But it is a fantastic, drawing, artwork, and everything else on there. But she's got some pretty interesting things. So Lady of the Court is one of these women that you might find at one of these social gatherings, these parties. You always see, the kings throwing these big feasts, and there's, a couple ladies in waiting.
Yeah, I kind of think of like the posh, elegant kind of lady at the court. That's kind of what they're going for here.
Now, I'm a bit confused. What exactly are they waiting for?
Well, I don't know.
They're ladies in waiting. They sure wait a lot. But she's got two main abilities that you can get with it. The first one is Encourage.
Yeah, so essentially it's kind of like this nice buffing spell. So she can essentially give 3 creatures within 30 feet D8 of 10 hit points, as long as they can be heard. So
that's true. And the other one we both really like a lot, and that's Call for Aid.
Yeah, this one's great. So essentially, she can use this to, you roll a d4, and that's how many rounds it takes until 2 guards show up to defend the Lady of the Court.
That is absolutely crazy. I love it. It adds a lot of flavor to it.
It does.
Now, the cool thing about that one, too, is that it has a lot of... not just a lot of flair, but you can throw this into anything else. You mentioned using her in an escort mission.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine that, maybe you can use her as part of the quest. Like, you have to escort her somewhere or, protect her, and then these 2 guards can show up and all these things can happen. But she's actually really good NPC to introduce early on because she's only CR 1.5, but and that little buffing spell is kind of like a nice thing to help your party out too.
Right, maybe she's the only one that survives one of those horrible Game of Thrones weddings.
Right.
You know, she's the only one that survives on that, and you have to bring her back to her castle, which is
lots of
all
potential.
the way over there. You know,
of course.
It's just. But I think this is a really great and fantastic book here. We're going to take up one more.
Yes.
And this one, I almost felt like I shouldn't have taken up. And there's a reason. This is the Melancholy Golem.
Yes, for those who love sob stories and those sad movies, eat your heart out with this one.
Let me explain. Very, very simply, when a wizard makes a golem, you know, he has the sigil that commands that golem. The golem follows his commands or what have you. But the thing is golems oftentimes outlive their masters.
Mm-hmm. And then what do they do after they have, outlived their purpose?
They wander around till they find a new master. Then that master dies, and they keep moving on and moving on, moving on. And the Melancholy Golem is just that. It's a golem that has emotion tied to him. He misses his master.
Yes, and it's great, especially how to describe this NPC. There's a lot of kind of cool opportunities as to how you can use this. It is a bit of a sad thing, seeing that this construct has no more of a purpose. And it has a couple of typical golem features. It can't get poisoned. It has some pretty beefy attacks. It's beefy itself.
Mm-hmm. It's funny is it kind of reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It just kind of sits there, and it has an ability that is just the personification of depression when it comes to this.
Yeah, so with Lethargy, essentially, when it starts its turn, you roll a d20. And on a 5 or lower, the golem feels just so unmotivated that it takes no action.
I don't know why I'm going to do this. I might as well just stand here and do nothing.
Yeah, and that is essentially that. Again, kind of adds that flavor a little bit, but it's a neat little feature.
Now, a cool thing about this one too is that it gets an awesome reaction ability called Embrace.
Yeah, so this one's interesting. So essentially, if a creature ends its turn within 5 feet of the golem,
and it hasn't made a hostile attack towards the golem yet.
Yeah, it essentially goes for this, grapple attempt, but it's, really a hug. It's trying to hug that target.
To just imagine this golem coming towards you with its arms
right.
out, a sense of longing,
right? Of
because
course,
it
has
misses,
no purpose,
and it doesn't notice the enemy as a bad guy yet because the bad guy hasn't attacked it. It's really well thought out.
Yeah,
I really like this a lot. And there's 107 more?
107 more. And the cool thing is that they also add a lot of different little short, tiny adventures with these maps at the end. And we kind of talked about this when we reviewed the first Adaptable NPCs, where you can create scenarios and quests and other things like this to kind of flourish and give that NPC a background and introduce them in a really nice way that your party is going to remember.
Right. You're going up to that wizard tower, what have you, and you move a stone wall, and there is the Melancholy Golem,
exactly.
Behind there, just sitting there, maybe with a flower in his hand, just missing his master. This book is fantastic. You guys should definitely check it out. In addition to it, you have to take a look at the value of some of these things. Adaptable NPCs has always been a really big value for your bang for your buck. You definitely get a lot of really great things in there, and it's definitely something you guys have to pick up. Again, that's Adaptable NPCs II by Grimm Press. Available on the DM's Guild. We'll leave a link in the description below down there.
Yes.
Somewhere down there.
Yep. And speaking of links, if you do want to send in your own homebrew content or things that we can review or want to work on, you can go ahead and send us an email at dmbrewcrew@gmail.com. We do take a look at submissions for reviewing, for helping out fixing things and other things like that. So if you have something that you want to send in, please don't hesitate.
Yes, and I want to send a extra special thank you, as we always do, to all of our Patreons over there and those who support us by purchasing some of our content on the DM's Guild as well. You guys doing things like that keep us actually here talking to each other and looking through D&D stuff and building wonderful sets like this. Thank you guys so much for sticking around with us. And remember, the best campaigns are always the ones that are homebrewed. So until next time,
keep brewing.